All right, folks, back here on Inside Analysis, yours truly, Eric Kavanagh. Next up, we've got Todd Krause of Silversun Consulting out of Indianapolis. Yes, the Indianapolis 500. Lots of race cars zipping around there. They're very, very loud. They're very exciting. You like that kind of fun stuff. But Todd has a very interesting view on the world, and I share his perspective. He sees tremendous opportunity these days with fairly inexpensive tools that can let business owners stay in touch with their prospects, with their customers, really in ways that were not possible before, or at least not possible in a cost-effective manner. And so, Todd, welcome to Inside Analysis. I'm dying to know which tools and what you think about the cultural dynamics that we're going through right now.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's
Yeah.
it's quite an honor to be here.
Yeah, you bet, man. You bet. And I like your take on these things. I think you're right. And we are at this very interesting inflection point where all of a sudden technologies that used to be incredibly expensive are now not very expensive at all. But how you use them makes all the difference in the world, of course. And there are rough edges to the LLMs. There are rough edges to some of these new technologies coming out. But nonetheless, the bar has been lowered in terms of access to power, to generative capability. So, what's your take on how these new technologies are changing business and improving things?
Well, we're seeing a couple of things happen, and it's creating some real opportunities that are affordable for the small to medium-sized business owner.
Hmm.
We have tools that will let us text back and forth with our teams and with our customers, and let our customers communicate with us through text. In fact,
Hmm.
most of us are already experiencing that with reminders giving us the time and the exact location of appointments.
Hmm.
These things are more affordable than they have ever been in the past. But there's also other things that are happening out there. There are entire website CRM systems that are within reach, meaning as little as maybe $50 to $100 a month, depending upon which provider you go with, that will capture all of your prospect and all of your client information. It'll capture your conversations, every interaction that you've had. Suddenly, without paper, pen, spreadsheets, we are able to capture all of this.
Hmm.
These are certainly things that I point out to the clients that I work with, because most of the clients who come to me come for a couple of reasons specifically. They'll say, we're not growing, we're stuck, and we don't know why. So I help them get growing. I help them standardize their operations, which and reduces their delivery costs. And I layer on a cultural element, because here's where it's almost like an unfair advantage in today's world. When we use these tools and technology to put the information that we need in the fingertips of our people, and we have our people be the real point of contact and own the relationship with our customers and our prospects, all of a sudden we're delivering something to the world that our competition isn't, because our competition is having their customers go and talk to chatbots and wade their way through a complicated call tree. But think of it as your people having this CRM, knowing at an instant, every time you talk to this person, and how the conversation went and how the service went, because relationships are sticky.
Hmm.
So what I am saying is use these tools and use these to empower your frontline people, your ambassadors of your business, and
Hmm.
you will rise above everybody else who is cutting staff and using 100% automation, because people tell the difference and they feel like a number when they're just in a queue or they're
Hmm.
talking to a chatbot.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
saying let's use all the tools and technology. Why wouldn't we?
Hmm.
But now let's do something everybody else isn't doing. Let's layer on this cultural side. Once we have gotten our front end acquisition engine working correctly, the acquisition for our customers and for our staff. Once
Mm-hmm.
we've gotten our delivery engine working correctly, that's how we deliver our goods and our services consistently in a high quality manner with good customer service. And lastly, our retention engines, because we want to retain our customers, we want to retain our staff. So this
Mm-hmm.
is where all of these tools help do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The
and so
reminders.
when you talk about the cultural dynamic, how do you present that? What does that entail? How do you communicate what to do and how to do it?
Some of the biggest changes, and they're actually very simple changes, it's flipping around what we're traditionally have done. Is stop telling everybody no and don't and warning of consequences. Well, the next time you make this mistake, all these bad things are going to happen.
Right, right. That's fun.
We tell the staff what our customers are asking for, and we reward them for delivering that in a courteous, high quality, consistent way.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, we don't have to have all of these discussions about what went wrong and why it went wrong. The staff is just motivated to do a better job. When we are a caring, compassionate business and we recognize that you get the complete package when you hire somebody, they don't leave their personal life at the door when they come to work.
Hmm.
We're talking about people, and people come with families, they come with personal problems, they come with cars that break down at times. But when we create space for them to solve their problems, what we get back is a committed, dedicated staff person working for us rather than somebody who's just compliant and meeting the minimum level that has to be done to get a paycheck on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then when
Yeah.
we recognize that the we all have a culture within our business, and culture is much bigger than where did you come from, what's your place of origin, what's your language. It is how each business talks to and relates to the people and the customers inside. It's this entire way that inside of our business operates and the feel that it has for our employees and our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I teach the business owners that I work with and consult with to create, supported by this technology.
Hmm.
Then
That's
what
interesting.
happens is something pretty amazing. Growth accelerates and operating expenses drop. Retention of customers and staff shoots up. In the cleaning business that I own, revenue shot up from 1.8 million to over 4 million. Our operating expenses dropped by more than 8%.
Hmm.
That's an additional $320,000 a year in profit.
Hmm.
But underneath this personalized and human front that we have that actually talks to the customers, has the relationship with our customers, is all of this technology about texting and reminding that the team is on the way,
Mm-hmm.
texting and asking, how was your experience? The CRM systems that track everything that happened, the interactions. So when Mrs. Smith calls and has a question for us, we immediately know what our past interactions with Mrs. Smith were and what was discussed, how that went.
Yeah. That's no, this is very interesting. And what it's so fun, just for example, using the large language models, because they do remember you and your history. There are a lot of tools that are sitting on top of those as well. But your point is well taken that these days capturing all that information is not a challenge. It used to be very difficult with some of the older CRM tools. They were kind of kludgy, they were slow, they were expensive, and it was difficult to manage. Well, now it's not like that. And so you can manage, you can capture all this information and you can surface it pretty quickly. And that's valuable to your point. When someone feels like the service provider is listening to them, that's pure gold. right? I mean, most people, even if they're mad, as long as you listen to them vent and explain and remain calm, you can keep that client because you're listening, right?
That's exactly what we do. We've seen it in the responses from the customers. We see it in the reviews that they leave us when they talk about how they really enjoyed when the team came, and they always look forward to when the team comes next to service them because it's always such a great experience. Our online reviews shot up from a little under 200 when I bought the business to over 1,200 in about 5.5 years.
Wow.
And it's because we work very diligently to maintain this human connection with our customers. And that's one thing that people are seeking in today's technology-driven world. Yes, we're very connected, social media and otherwise, but emotionally and relationship-wise, we're rather disconnected, probably more disconnected than ever before.
Hmm.
So here is this really almost like secret weapon. It's not really secret, but businesses aren't doing it. The
Hmm.
business that does do it and uses technology as to support their frontline people rather than to be the frontline stand to gain and gain quickly from it.
Yeah, I think that's a great, and it's funny because I just did a call this morning, a pre-call for a show we'll do next week sometime, and the company's leader talks all about human first, and that's exactly what you're talking about. Is look, the tools are great, but don't view them through the lens of replacing headcount, as they say. I don't even like that word headcount. It's just like, what does that even mean? Like they're people, they're not just heads, right? It's like I don't like when technology companies talk about getting new logos. It's new clients. Clients are people who work for organizations that need something which you can provide. But even just referring to them as people, well, we'll have one of our folks call you. I think that goes a long way to advocating for a human first approach, right?
It definitely does. When we stop and think, well, why does any organization, business or not for profit or governmental, why does any organization exist? It's people doing or providing something to and for people.
Hmm.
When we remove the people from it, what's left? It's just technology talking to technology. And well, technology doesn't need anything. Technology doesn't need roads or services or clothes or food.
Right.
We exist because people need something and they want something.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's people at the end of the day. You know, a good friend of mine was spent some years in the music business, and he said when he went into it, he thought, oh, it's all about the music, and he got in there, and he realized, no, it's all about the people who are making the music, producing, marketing, syndicating. It's all about the people, and as long as you have that mindset, you're going to have the proper perspective of working with folks. Because you're right, no one likes to. I don't like talking to chatbots at all. Like I don't like it. A lot of people don't. And so the more human you can make the interactions with your clients, leveraging all the data from the engines, the better off you're going to be, right?
Now, that's an interesting that you mentioned chatbots, because I'd heard a story a couple of weeks ago. A person said that somebody was talking to their chatbot and they were very impressed with how the chat and realistic the chatbot sounded. And they actually asked the chatbot if they could meet for coffee. And then at that point, the chatbot says, well, sorry, but I'm not real. But
That's funny.
that's funny when we hear that until we realize what the other side of the experience is. And then at that point, people feel cheated, they feel deceived,
Hmm.
lied to. So when we stop going, ha ha ha, what a funny story, then we start to go, oh, we feel deceived.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want our customers and clients to feel deceived or and lose their trust and confidence in us.
Mm-hmm.
If they're talking to a chat bot, And I think, in my view, we have a responsibility to let them know that it's AI and not a real person.
I think you're right. I think that's a good, and you're starting to see that, and some of them will tell you because if they're trying to play it off as if it's real and it's not, like you say, that feels disingenuous. And our break is coming up here in a second, but I've noticed some of the full visual human-like avatars. What really bugs me is their behavior when they're not talking because it just looks unnatural. It's like trying to be natural. It's just very bizarre. But folks, we'll be right back. You're listening to Inside Analysis. All right, folks, back here on Inside Analysis with Todd Krause of Silversun Consulting. He helps companies develop a human first approach to doing business, but use the technology. There's a lot of tech out there these days. And Todd, you've talked about some of the newer CRM type systems that are very good at capturing lots of information. The storage is cheap these days. You can store all the data, align it with customer records, and then anyone who picks up the phone to talk to customer A, B, C, or D or prospect, they can have at the ready all the information that has been associated with that person. That's a really, really big deal because it helps the customer service person know what's going on, understand the history, and people love that. Clients love when you know that they only like to have the cleaning crew come on Mondays at 10 a.m. Like that's the time they want. If you capture that information, you can deliver on it. And these days, you don't have to work so hard to manually organize these things. I think that's one of the big changes in terms of how the tech works is that you don't have to be so careful about managing structured databases and things of this nature because the systems just capture the information, then you query it, you ask it questions, and it gives you answers. So, a lot of the mindset has to change about what's possible and what can be delivered economically from a technology perspective, right, Todd?
It is very economical. And these days, it makes sense. Really, it makes sense to store things in the cloud and access them from any machine, laptop, phone, anywhere, rather than to go through all of the expense and the setup of capturing them in your own server or a back room of yours.
Right.
That
I agree. Yeah. 100%.
eliminates all the need for backup. Oftentimes, all of your virus protection and monitoring comes with that. It's really an amazing deal how this works.
I agree. I use the cloud. I'm a big fan of Google Docs, for example, because you know what? I've got my Google Docs. I've got a laptop upstairs, a desktop downstairs. Sometimes I'm on the road. You can just log in with your credentials, and all of a sudden, everything is there for you. And you want to talk about a fun development? Google, I say hats off to Google. I primarily use ChatGPT, but also Claude and sometimes Gemini. And Gemini, folks, let me tell you, if you're a Google shop, and you've been using Google for a number of years, now inside the Gemini prompt, if you do at Gmail at Drive, it's automatically going to access all the information in your entire repository. Every interaction that you've had with every client, every email, every document that's in this system is all accessible. That is unbelievably valuable. I can tell you. I mean, we've been a Google shop for about, I think, 13 years, maybe something like that. And just the other day, I was like, who is that database vendor that talked about being able to serve OT and IT? And I just asked Gemini, and it was like, ding, that was Faircom. And the summer of 2014, you sent this email and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. You don't have to remember things now. It's all there captured, and you've got ready access to every interaction that you've had. And you can have natural language questioning, natural language queries. You don't have to write some SQL query to get that data. I think a lot of people don't realize that is so possible right now. It's happening right now, and you can do it today. But what do you think, Todd?
It, I do it, and I love it. I love not having to type all of the information and all the backstory, you might say, into Gemini.
Right.
And I can just ask the question and tell Gemini to reference the history of the Gmail or to look in the drive.
Mm-hmm.
If I
It's
backed
amazing.
up a year or so, I would have to sit there at the prompt and I would have to enter all of this information in order for Gemini to have enough background to give me a correct answer.
Hmm. I mean, it's really wild the number of things that you can now expedite. For example, I just had a call this morning with an Italian company. They put on a big event in Bologna called We Make Future. It's a big, beautiful event. They're working with the folks from CES, of course, which is one of the biggest shows in the world, Las Vegas, the electronics show, consumer electronics. And I had a great idea for a show to collaborate with them. And I wrote down the basic tenets. It's like a TV show. And I gave it good material. So I gave it good raw material. I had a draft, a 3-page document. Then I used that document to create a flyer, like an informational flyer promoting the show. And let me tell you, in the old days, you would have had to pay an ad agency probably $20,000 and take 2, 3 weeks with lots of meetings and lots of late hours with the designers, putting this here, putting that there. I had that thing cranked out in 45 seconds and it's gorgeous. It's this beautiful flyer. I'm like, oh my God, would have taken forever to do in the past. I just did it myself. Now, you still need designers, you still need copywriters, you still need people doing all these things. But the point is now you can grease the tracks to whatever you want to create, whenever you want to create it, as long as you have the right instructions and the right idea, and you can just boom, take off. I mean, that is night and day different than the way the world was 3 years ago. What do you think?
It is. And even before we started talking here today, I was in Gemini asking it to create some images for me and simply saying, oh, add this or remove that. Seconds later, I had a new version of it with the addition or without without it. Pretty amazing. Now that might not be what I use ultimately in the end, but I could hand that to somebody and I could say, this is the direction I'm going. Can you take it to the next level?
Right. That's an excellent way to look at it because these generative engines, they are very, very good at giving you a first draft, basically a first try at something. And you give it some instruction. And the other thing too, that I'll point out, we got about 4 minutes left here, is that they're also very good at pointing out things you didn't think of. Like if you ask it, what are the top 10 most important things I should know about Silversun Consulting, for example? It will definitely come up with 2 or 3 things that you had not considered. And a lot of times they're very important aspects that were just not in your head because we're imperfect beings. We're moving through the day with thoughts in our heads and things we're trying to accomplish. But when you leverage this little pal of your chat bot, of your Gen AI engine, it's very good at surfacing things that you should know about that you did not think about. What do you think?
It is, and it does that. A couple of days ago, I asked it to analyze a conversation I had. I was just struggling to try to get it all straight in my own head, and it gave me an answer.
Yeah.
But then I went back and I said, I think you're missing something here. And I gave it more information. And it just instantly got refocused. It analyzed the conversation in a way where now I said, okay, thank you. That makes sense. I was just trying to make sense of what the other person was telling me, make sure I understood it correctly. That was
Hmm.
that was so amazing.
Yeah. They're very, very powerful. And again, you have to respect that they are not sentient. These things are not alive. They can look sentient because the reflection of word patterns is very accurate sometimes. But they're not. They're not sentient. And they're not going, I don't think they'll ever be sentient. AGI, I think, it's almost like a religion as opposed to a technology discipline. But they're very, very powerful. And so the key is to use them when you can. But maybe let's close off with that human first side of the equation. I really like something you said in the last segment where you said you create space for your people to
Correct.
solve their own problems, right? I think we're coming out of this sort of punishment paradigm view of the world from a business perspective with, a lot of sticks, whack, whack, you did it wrong, you did it wrong. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be told they did something wrong, right? And if you're elegant about how you shepherd them toward a better way, that's the way to keep people around and keep people happy and keeping your customers happy, right, Todd?
Well, it is because every time somebody walks out the door, They're taking their brain power with them. They're taking all of their experience with them. They're taking all of their training, all of their knowledge of the clients that they've worked with. That's some valuable stuff that walks out the door.
Yep.
We want to keep good employees and we want to empower them to be even better employees.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, look this gentleman up online, folks. Todd Krause, it's Krause. Silversun Consulting is the company based out of Indianapolis. It's a good city, good American heartland city, right? It's not too far from Chicago, not too far from some other places, but still its own identity. I noticed that about Indianapolis. It has its own identity. It's a very business focused, very grounded, down to earth kind of town, and I'm not surprised that Todd is a very grounded, down to earth kind of guy. But folks, send me an email if you want to be on this show, info at Inside Analysis. That comes right to me, info at insideanalysis.com, or info at dmradio.biz also comes to me. We're booking out the rest of the year right now. We've got some fun things planned. We're going to be digging in, of course, more to AI and Gen AI and your data plane and making sure that you're grounding your AI to give you the right answers. But folks, we'll talk to you next time. You've been listening to Inside Analysis.